Hey everybody, it's Michael with GrassFlap here. We are going to do a full install of the new Ferris metal plate on the Ferris Z3X. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the no drill mount. So you should have a set of spacers in the kit. We're going to use the shorter 1/2 inch spacers here. You're going to put one on each end of the opening of the hole. You're going to lay the no drill mount on top of it like so. Also, you're going to take your carriage bolts, put them underneath the deck and come up through the top. And then we're going to take our lock nuts and just tighten that down. You're going to go ahead and tighten this all the way down because we're not going to be moving it going forward. So once you have the bolts secure, you want to make sure everything's lined up to the edge of the deck. Then you want to take your drill, tighten that down. Like I said, go ahead and tighten it all the way down. All while making sure that it's lined up to the edge of the deck. Okay, now that we've got everything lined up and bolted down, we're going to go ahead and take the other set of spacers that we have. They should be 1-inch spacers. We're going to lay them on top of those 2 tall carriage bolts, and then you're going to lay the hinge assembly on top of it with the slotted holes. So the bolts are facing up. Take those other set of lock nuts, go ahead and put those on. Once those are secured, you're going to want to make sure the hinge is flush against the deck opening. Since the plate itself is thin, you want that as snug as possible. You don't need to tighten this all the way down, as you may need to make adjustments as you go, but just make sure it's not moving once you install the plate itself. So I've got a little bit of carry on there. It's not all the way tightened down. Now we flip the hinge up, and we're going to take our brand new blocker plate. It's going to come out of the box flat like this. It's different with the ICD decks because you do have a tapered opening. The solution we have with that is this plate has slits in it to allow it to be bent. And we're going to bend it right now. So the best way to do it is stick it underneath the no drill mount here. We have it lined up with that back slit right there. And then once we do that, we're just going to lift up. Don't be afraid to bend. And then you may have to do this a couple times just to make sure you get your alignment right. It's okay if you have to bend it back and forth. It's designed to do so. So right here we can see we've got a good flush seal on it. Okay, now that we've got that done, we're going to go ahead and take the other bolt that we have and nut and attach it to the hinge itself. And you want the top of the carriage bolt to be on the outside of the hinge so it's flush so you don't have the end of the nut, the threading coming out. Now these slots are designed to shift forward and back and up and down, and you may have to adjust depending on your deck opening and size of deck. So once you have that, we're going to go ahead and thread the bolts on, tighten the nuts down, but not all the way because we are going to make another adjustment here. So now that we've got that, close it up, get a nice seal. Everything looks good and clean. We're still missing one part on the hinge assembly, and we're about to grab it here. It's the deflector angle. Now, I'll get a lot of questions about the deflector angle. Do I need the deflector angle? Does it make much of a difference? And you've got to remember, it's not so much that the deflector angle gives you a good seal as it does deflect the grass itself away from your face when you crack it open. So this deflector angle is going to stick up slightly, and I'll show you how to get away from the no drill mount. So now that we've got that, we're tightening everything down again. Get it nice and stuck. I still have not tightened the hinge itself, and this is why. So we've got this 1x2 deflector angle here, and it's different. Our older styles had double-sided tape. This doesn't require that. You actually just slide it in, and it's going to sandwich in between the hinge and the blocker plate. Now to know the distance, we're going to lift this up. You'll see there's markings on there on each end. We want to be level with that so you know that your deflector angle is flush and not cockeyed or anything. So once we have that, Now we can go ahead and tighten the hinge all the way down. You may need to change your socket because it is a smaller nut. Once we have that. Now it's also important to note that your deflector angle is more than likely not going to cover the entire opening top to bottom. What I account for is the front of the mower, because the front right corner is going to be where most of the clippings collect. So when you open that, that's where the most of them are going to be at. So the back end is not as much of a concern as the front. So now that we've got that leveled off, we're going to go ahead and attach the spring mount. So we're going to take that nut off the hinge itself. It's a lock nut, and we're going to attach the spring mount. There's one exposed nut there on the front. That's okay, you don't need to mess with anything on that. Tighten that down. You may have some obstructions. This spring mount can pivot up and down to try and get away. It doesn't matter where you set it. You just want to kind of avoid any kind of lips or spindles or anything that would be in the way. Now that we got that, we're going to put the spring, the tension spring, onto the bushing bolt. The best way to do this is grab a pair of channel locks, grab the end of it like so, wrap it around, and take it off. So this foot pedal is a 5D. It's got a flat platform with slotted holes, and we're just going to pick a good spot that we like the middle. It's just going to be an easier for left or right footed people. You can favor each side if you want. The only thing we ask is that you keep the cable straight off the connection point and no sharp turns. So as you can see, we've got the carriage bolts going down the head of the carriage bolt on the top of the mower as to not be able to trip or catch on anything. Once we have that tightened down, then it's more about routing the cable itself. And at the end of this video, we'll show exactly how we routed the cable. It's not a good position here, but the main thing is to kind of see how to bolt the pedal to the platform itself. Okay, now the pedal has been bolted, so the only thing left is to route the cable through the tower and out the other side and connect the cable to the flap end. Now once secured to the platform, we're going to take some snips and just trim off some of the excess here, and that should be it. Okay, now that we've got everything going on the hinge, we're pretty much done there. We're going to go ahead and install the cable itself. So you want to just start with the closed clevis end. That's the one that's not the removable, and you're going to want to slide the front bolt off the jam nut all the way off the rubber boot, so you can slide it into the black cradle to attach the clevis to be able to open the hinge. Now we got that. In your kit, there's going to be a yellow bag. That yellow bag is going to be all your connection points for the cable itself. So once we grab that bag, there's two pieces three actually, that we're really looking for on this part, and that is the smaller clevis pin. So there's two clevis pins. The smaller one is going to be for the flap end. You're also going to have a copper bushing. So there's a loop, a black loop right by the spring mount that the cable attaches to. You're going to slide that copper bushing in between there and then put the clevis pin through. The copper bushing allows the clevis pin to move freely, to not have any kind of friction. over time. And if you notice here, I've got my clevis pin, I've got the point where I put the cotter pin towards the front of the mower. This is important because we get a lot of people that lose the cotter pin or it falls out, and that's normally because they install the clevis pin the other way and it rubs against the spring mount, causing it to fail quickly. So this part's important. We're gonna take the cotter pin, put it through the hole, and then we're gonna spread it like wings, wrap it around the entire thing, and that will keep it from coming off. Okay.
So this is the all steel, got an all steel blocker plate on it. The blocker plate is attached to the hinge plate, and then of course the hinge plate's to the mount. We also have a deflector angle in here. So what that deflector angle does is keep the grass clippings from blowing it up onto the mower and you as the operator. This particular unit is installed with a no-drill mount. So this no-drill mount bolts to existing holes on the mower deck. Got a 1/2 inch spacer here, and then a 1 inch set of spacers here, and then it bolts together that way. Next we have the spring itself. So this spring is what holds the flap in this closed position. It'll also hold it up in the open position. The spring then connects to the spring bolt, and then the cable is connected up here. So this cable is onto the cable mount, or the spring mount actually, and then cables are attached in here. Attaches up on this end with a 3/16 pin, a 1/4 inch bushing inside of there, and then the cotter pin itself goes in this hole. We split it and fold it back on itself to make a W shape. Cable routing then, pretty straightforward. We're going to run around, come onto the inside here, then run up over this frame. We're going to zip tie it here to this holder for the oil drain hose, and then we're going to run it back along the side of the frame over here to the back of the mower. Let's show you what that looks like. There's a nice little path that it can follow right in through here. And once we get it to the back end, we're going to do this little bit of kind of an S shape routing here. That allows it to flex as you operate, as you bounce up and down while you're operating the mower. Zip tie it on down here, and then of course it connects up here onto the pedal itself. Then from there, this is a 5D style pedal. It bolts into the existing holes on the foot pan, and it lines up here in the center. I usually do it here in the middle like this, because then when you're operating it, you could either operate with your your left foot rather, and then, or you can also do it with your right foot. So let's see if I can get up here, kind of show you how it operates. So we're going to be out here, if I can get everything lined up, we can see the flap in that. So it's a push and release motion, right? You can see as I push the pedal down with my foot, it's going to come out halfway, and what I'm actually doing is kind of a little flip motion. So it's on and off the pedal. It'll stay on stay in the up position without your foot on the pedal. It'll stay in the closed position without your foot on the pedal. And then you can ride with your foot on the pedal and feather it anywhere that you want to, which is super convenient if you're running up along an area where you don't have to close it all the way. You can do a partial open. So very easy to operate. So the GrassFlap here installed on this Ferris Z3.